Our ego's job is to have us survive. And the way it has us survive, its modus operandi, is to be right about our beliefs, forgetting that we just made them up in the first place, including beliefs like, I am not lovable or I don't matter. And we will fight to the death to be right about those to prevent ourselves from dying. That's crazy. When my father died several years ago, I wasn't at his bedside, but my younger sister, Allison, was. And Allison said that in that last hour, Dad would take a breath and then with some struggle, let it out. And with more struggle, take another breath. And in that last hour, she listened to each breath come in and then go out. And Allison said, and finally, after that hour, there were no more breaths. It's like Dad stopped. Dad had just stopped. Now, I don't know about you, but as I notice today, I look at our climate problems. I'm in Central Oregon right now, and if I look out my window, I can see smoke as the fires are not too far away. I had this sense of democracy under attack. COVID, with all of its struggles, both the health and political. And now Afghanistan. I can't even watch the news anymore about Afghanistan. I feel so bad. And as I look at all this stuff, I have this unbidden, as committed as I say I am to everything in life, I feel this pull to withdraw and maybe just hide under my bed. And I forget to be grateful that I'm alive and I'm in the game and I still get to take the next breath, just to celebrate and take in my next breath. So now I invite you to join me in being grateful, even thrilled to be able to just breathe in spite of all what's going on in the world. So if you would, just very briefly, please close your eyes and then focus on your next 3 breaths. I mean, really focus on it, that you get to do that and not like, my dad that all of a sudden stopped. I get to take the next one. And I invite you to be joyful, grateful that you get to take this breath. And maybe even anytime you're reading the news, you just stop and go, I'm still in the game. I get to take this next breath. And with that, as I'm talking to you today, I'm aware that I've got more life behind me than ahead of me. I'm also aware that my 2 kids have the opposite situation. My daughter, Megan, has more life in front of her to unfold, and my son, Topher, has more life in front of him to unfold than I have. And I'm aware of that. So one more little story. On the evening of 9/11, having been rocked by the events of the day of 9/11, having been shocked by the events of 9/11, I was reading Topher a bedtime story. He was about 4 then. And I fell half asleep and I started to have this, I guess I call it a waking dream. And I looked down at Topher there asleep and I imagined that I was looking at his dead body having been killed in the events of 9/11. And it was awful. And in the midst of that half dream, I choked out a kind of a prayer that said, please, just one more day. Please, just one more day with Topher. Just give me one more day. And so as I start here this morning, I say to all of you, please, just one more day. And here we are today in One Mountain. My commitment in life, which I always share whenever I speak with people, is that I'm committed to your epitaph. That's what my life is about, your obituary, your eulogy. And my commitment is that it say what you want it to say. about the meaning of your life? And did it not say, whoops, or gee, I sure wish, or if only there were more time, or I regret that? So my commitment is that your obituary say what you want it to say. My intention today is, one, that you radically transform yourself into being Homo Amor, living with radical aliveness forever, to have it matter uniquely that you lived at all. That's one. And two, if I don't get that done, if I fall short of that, then I'm at least hoping to offer you some ideas that might be helpful whenever you might be choosing to withdraw or to fully contribute your unique gifts. Whenever you might be making a choice that might enhance your aliveness or diminish it, I'm hoping to offer you some ideas that might be helpful to you. As a start, I invite all of us to consider that living is not the same as not dying. And we human beings, and I certainly include myself in that group, get that mixed up. We seem to be thrown to spending a lot of our energy on not dying. Today, I'm hoping to offer you some insight to be able to transcend the impulse, as David said, to transcend the impulse to murder Eros, our own Eros. Now, as a start, again, I'd invite you all to grab a pen and a paper if you got it nearby, or if you just want to use your keyboard, you can also do that and enter it on chat. But as you do that, I'm going to ask you to think about yesterday. You yesterday, as a matter of fact, and sort of see yourself going through your life yesterday. Interacting with people, being by yourself, your physical engagement, your emotional engagement, whatever. Just kind of review your participation in life yesterday. And, were you fully 100% engaged, or were you something less? Did you hold back? Were there risks you knew you probably should take, you didn't take? Were there risks you knew you should take and you did take? So I'd like you to just to review yourself, you being and doing you yesterday. And on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being, barely there, 5 being full 100% radical aliveness, how would you rate yourself? By your own standards, how would you rate yourself in your life yesterday? Just kind of think of that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How would you rate yourself? And I kind of bring a number to mind that you would, honestly give yourself. And how many would say that you were at a 5, a full 5? Can I see your hands on the screen? How many had a full 5 yesterday? Okay, couple. How many about a 4 yesterday? All right, some more. How many 3? How many about a 3, or even less than 3? How many would rate yourself less than 3 or less? Okay. Now, human being, friends of mine, I want you to notice that. So by your own standards, you said, most of us, it looks like it was about a 3.5, I would say, was the average for our group. And I would say this is probably a more more participation than an average group, given that you're even here today. Says something about you, but about a 3.5. So yesterday, notice by your own standards, you held back at least some. You didn't live, sort of full out, radically alive, yesterday. So you didn't fully live quite yesterday. You held back some. So my question is, what are you going to do with the unlived life from yesterday? What are you going to do with the unlived life yesterday? I mean, do you have like somewhere a bank savings account you're keeping it in, or saving up for a rainy day? And I always have this image that comes to mind of we get to the pearly gates of heaven, and for sure when you get to those gates, there's going to be a guy with a clipboard, checking you in or not. And you say, okay, on my behalf, here's all the life I didn't live in this savings account. Do I get credit for it, sort of to get into heaven? And I can't prove it to you, but I don't think you get credit for it. And as a matter of fact, if God would show up in that moment, he might be really irritated or angry at you or us. He might say something like, dude, I gave you this gift of life. What did you do with it? And you go, well, not a lot, but I got a lot left over. I saved it. I think, he might be angry at you with, for holding all that unlived life in that account. Now, a lot of smart people suggest that the way we human beings handle this most fundamental existential dilemma we have, that is, of being creatures who wish to continue to be, but one day will cease to be. The way we handle our fear of death is by not living. And if we hold back from living, maybe we can get out of this alive. We can get credit for that bank account. We think if we don't fully live the life available to us, maybe we won't die. As said in Ernst Becker's prize-winning book, Pulitzer Prize-winning, The Denial of Death, it's a terror to have emerged from nothing, to have a name, a consciousness of self, deep inner feelings, an excruciating yearning for life and self-expression, and with all this, yet to die. And with all this, yet to die. So we hold back as a part of our strategy to survive, to get out of this alive. And remember, a strategy is a plan, a way to win a game. I'm not sure why we human beings use this strategy so commonly, because it doesn't seem that it's ever worked for anyone else. Why would we think it would work for us? Maybe we should reconsider this strategy. One of the great illustrations of this is found in Charles Dickens' classic, A Christmas Carol. Now, the main character, Ebenezer Scrooge, grew up as kind of a lonely young guy. The story is his mother died in childbirth and his father just withdrew from him. And some point in that process, Scrooge decided he wasn't lovable and the world was a cruel place. And based on that, he developed his strategy for survival. He withdrew from people. He became, totally miserly, gathered his great fortune, but didn't give it with anybody. As a matter of fact, I looked up in the dictionary, the word Scrooge. It's so common, it means, the definition is a miserly person. All right. And it comes from this book. So Scrooge's strategy to stay alive was to kill his own eros, to totally withdraw, to wall off. I mean, think about this. The way to survive is to kill off your eros, is to deaden yourself. Now, his response when asked to care for others was, bah humbug. His strategy to survive was to kill his own love, his own aliveness. Now, in looking at Scrooge, consider the words of Robert Nozick. He was a Harvard philosopher, wrote a book called The Examined Life. And Nozick says, mostly we tend to live on automatic pilot, he said, following through the views of ourselves and our aims that we acquired early, with only minor adjustments. This situation, to say the least, is unseemly. Would you design an intelligent species so continuously shaped by its childhood, one whose emotions had no half-life, and where statutes of limitations could be invoked only with great difficulty? Now, as you probably know, especially in this congregation, our ego's job is to have us survive. And the way it has us survive, its modus operandi, is to be right about our beliefs, forgetting that we just made them up in the first place, including beliefs like, I am not lovable or I don't matter. and we will fight to the death to be right about those to prevent ourselves from dying. That's crazy. And the more we stay on automatic pilot about our beliefs, the more we lose our own aliveness. Well, one Christmas Eve, a team of ghosts, back to Scrooge, well, I'm going to say to you, they weren't really a team of ghosts, but rather a team of outrageous and committed One Mountain members, you guys, who were not willing to be written into the book of life until Scrooge was too, sort of the culture we're in here. And they stood for Scrooge to transcend his impulse to kill Eros in order to live. First, the One Mountain member of Christmas Past took Scrooge back to when he made that decision to be not lovable and had him fearlessly recognize he made the decision. And then the One Mountain member of Christmas Present had Scrooge wake up and see what was going on around him, to wake up. And then the One Mountain member of Christmas Future took Scrooge into the future to view a gravestone and to see a name on the gravestone, Ebenezer Scrooge. Finally, Scrooge did not look away. Scrooge was shocked. His strategy to not die by not living was not going to work. He was going to die. Then on Christmas morning, after all this, Scrooge woke up and was transformed. He was radically alive, and he spent the rest of his life seeking deeper contact, deeper intimacy, and ever larger wholeness. In getting death, in getting out of the denial of death, comes the possibility of radical aliveness. Another illustration found in Tolstoy's War and Peace. In War and Peace, there was a character, Pierre, who was a Russian, even though his name was Pierre. And this was the Russian Napoleonic War. And for the first 500 pages of War and Peace, Pierre's at about a 2.3. And then he's captured by the French, and he's fifth in line to be executed. And over the course of a few days, while he's in jail waiting to be executed, he's thinking about being at a 2.3 and withholding in life. And then pow, he's fourth in line to be executed, and he's thinking about his life. And then pow, he's third in line to be executed. Pow, second, pow, he's next. Pierre began to get it. He was not getting out of this alive. His strategy was maybe bankrupt. Now in the story, and there's a reason War and Peace is such a classic, and this is one of the most classic of moments in capturing humanity. In the story, he's saved at the last minute. And for the rest of his life and the rest of the book, Pierre's at a full 5. So again, out of getting death comes the possibility of radical aliveness. Now, another illustration, Kafka, The Trial. Now, The Trial is kind of a crazy book. Overall, it's a story about a guy who's on trial by his own conscience for what he's made of his life. But there's a parable in there called the parable of the Gatekeeper. And the parable is about a young man who goes to the city to study the law. And the law is held in this large building, and in front of the door to the building is a large guard. And the young man goes to the guard and says, "Guard, I've come to study the law. Let me pass." And the guard says, "Sorry, you do not have permission to pass." And the young man looks like he's about to run past it and go for it, past the guard. The guard says, "Whoa, young man, should you get past me, there's another guard and another door. And beyond him, a third guard and a third door. And even I am afraid of the third guard." And the young man goes, "Okay, all right, I'll be back tomorrow." Next day, "I've come to study the law. Let me pass." "Sorry, no permission." Goes home, comes back. Third day. The third day goes back, same litany. "I've come to study the law. Sorry, no permission." Fourth day, fifth day, a week, a month, a year. And same litany. Time passes over and over again. And finally, later on, after time, so much time, the young man is now an old man. One more time. "I've come to study the law. Let me pass." Guard, no permission. But this time, the young man, now an old man, turns and stops like he's been hit by a bolt of lightning. He says, oh my God, what an idiot I have been all these years. It couldn't be that important to study the law, because there's never been anyone else but me around this door. And if it were important to study the law, there'd be all kinds of people trying to get in here. Oh no, how stupid I have been. Now, the guard looks at him and doesn't see this revelation at all, and looks directly at the young man and says very soberly, of course, there's been nobody else here but you. This is your door. This is the door through which only you can pass. Locked the door and left. Locked the door and left. You know, and in thinking about that, I would ask myself and all of us, where do we get permission? Where do we seek permission to live our lives with radical aliveness, to be our unique self and our unique gifts? The psychologist Carl Jung once said, there's nothing more psychologically impactful on the lives of children than the unlived life of their parents. Now, let us begin as we started with a short meditation. I invite you to participate. Let yourself fully participate, if you will, even though this is kind of a quick entry into a meditation. So if you would, close your eyes and then just follow my directions. Take a deep breath, let it out slowly with a sigh. And then imagine yourself first awash in a red light. And as red washes over you, your body calms. Red changes to orange. You're drenched in orange and your emotions calm. Orange changes to yellow and your mind quiets as yellow washes over you. Yellow to green, and you feel vital and healthy as green washes over you. Blue washes over you and you feel your love merging with the love of other people. Blue switches to purple. You're awash in purple and you allow yourself to want what you want, to have your aspirations and your dreams. And finally, violet. Violet washes over you and you have a deep connection with everyone and everything, a sense of oneness. And in that state, I'd like you to bring to mind somebody in your life that you know cares about you. Somebody in your life that loves you and cares about you. Somebody who totally wishes you well. Somebody who totally doesn't want you ever to suffer. And imagine that person going through their life somewhere right now. Maybe they're reading a book. Maybe they're taking a walk. Maybe they're having dinner. Just kind of notice this person who cares about you. Notice this person all of a sudden smile. And as you see this person smile, you know they just thought about you. This person just thought about you and smiled. Just have this moment. All right, take another deep breath, let it out slowly with a sigh. And then imagine this very same person is now seated right across from you in a chair, like in a dyad, and they're looking right into your eyes. And just have this moment of this person who cares about you looking at you. Let it be real in your imagination. They're right there. Sense it, feel it. And then you hear this person looking at you and say out loud to you, I choose you. I choose you. And just have this moment of being chosen by another human being. Just feel it, sense it. I choose you. What a joy that somebody, just acknowledge it, admit it. I choose you. And then as you look at this person, you kind of have a sense of behind them, a line of people extending far into the past until they blur into the past. Full line of people way into the past. And then on the other side, you see a line of people till it blurs into the future. Huge line of people into the future, huge line of person into the past. And now this person looks at you, only now it doesn't say I. This person looks at you and says, we choose you. We choose you. And as a matter of fact, you're the one we've been waiting for. You're the one we've been waiting for. All right, take a deep breath again. Let it out slowly with a sigh. Allow yourself to be awash in violet light. Violet changes to purple. You're drenched in purple. Purple changes to blue. You're washed in blue. Blue changes to green. Green switches to a yellow light washing over you. Yellow to orange. Orange to red. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly with a sigh. Allow your awareness to return. Open your eyes when you're back. And just notice your experience. And in conclusion, Meister Eckhart once said, if the only prayer you ever had to say was thank you, that would suffice. So thank you. So thank you. And from me to you, know that I have certainly gotten better than I have given. And to you, I am grateful.